What happens when a harmless party joke becomes the last straw for a marriage? Can a husband's silent response to public humiliation trigger a chain of lawful actions no one expects? When legal documents are served in front of friends, who is really to blame? The champagne bubbles tickled my throat as I surveyed the rooftop party, watching Seattle's skyline glitter beneath us. After 18 months of brutal work schedules, endless presentations, and sleepless nights, our tech startup was finally launching. I deserved this moment. I deserved the recognition. Seraphine, you look absolutely radiant tonight. Damian's voice cut through the crowd noise behind me. My boss had this way of making every word sound like a compliment and a promise rolled into one. I turned, smoothing down my black cocktail dress. Thank you, Damian. This whole event is incredible. I can't believe we actually pulled it off. We? He stepped closer, his cologne mixing with the evening breeze. Let's be honest here. You pulled it off. Your marketing strategy, your social media campaigns, your late nights perfecting every detail. This launch is your baby. My cheeks flushed with pride. Finally, someone who understood my worth. At home, Owen barely looked up from his lesson plans when I talked about work. But Damian saw me, really saw me. Ladies and gentlemen, Damian's voice boomed across the rooftop as he grabbed a microphone. Can I have your attention, please? The crowd of investors, employees, and tech journalists turned toward us. I spotted Owen near the bar, nursing what looked like his first beer of the night. He'd shown up in his usual khakis and button-down shirt, looking completely out of place among the designer suits and cocktail dresses. I want to recognize someone very special tonight, Damian continued, his hand finding the small of my back. Our marketing coordinator, Seraphine Doral, has been the driving force behind everything you see here. Her vision, her passion, her incredible dedication, she's the reason we're celebrating tonight. The crowd applauded, and I felt that familiar rush of validation. This was what I'd been craving. Public acknowledgement of my talents, my hard work, my importance. Seraphine, Damian said, turning to face me as the applause died down. You deserve so much more than just words. Before I could process what was happening, his hands were on my shoulders, pulling me closer. His lips found the sensitive spot where my neck met my shoulder, pressing a slow, deliberate kiss that sent shivers down my spine. The crowd erupted in cheers and whistles. For a split second, I froze. Then I heard someone shout, "Get it, girl!" And the spell broke. I laughed, throwing my head back as the crowd continued celebrating. This was power. This was recognition. This was everything I'd been working toward. I caught sight of Owen across the rooftop. He stood perfectly still, his beer forgotten in his hand, staring at us with an expression I couldn't quite read. Not anger exactly, but something deeper, something that made my stomach twist slightly. "Speech, speech," someone called out. I grabbed the microphone from Damian, my confidence soaring. Thank you all so much. You know, people always say that success requires sacrifice, but I think it requires courage. The courage to go after what you deserve, even when others don't understand your ambition. More applause, more validation. I was flying. To everyone who believed in this vision, who supported my crazy ideas, who saw my potential, thank you. And to those who didn't, I paused, my eyes finding Owen again. Well, maybe it's time to recognize that some of us are meant for bigger things. The party continued around us, but I noticed Owen had disappeared. Probably went home early like he always did. He never could handle being in the spotlight. Marina, my best friend and the startup's HR manager, appeared at my side with fresh champagne. Seraphine, that was incredible. Did you see everyone's faces? They were eating it up. I know, right? Finally, someone who appreciates what I bring to the table. And Damian, she lowered her voice conspiratorially, he's clearly smitten. That kiss was so hot, very European, very sophisticated. I felt a flutter of excitement mixed with something else. Guilt. No, that was ridiculous. It was just a professional gesture of appreciation. Owen was overreacting as usual. It wasn't romantic, I said, but even as the words left my mouth, I wasn't entirely convinced. It's just startup culture. Very collaborative, very expressive. Of course, Marina agreed, but her knowing smile suggested otherwise. Either way, you looked powerful up there. Owen should be proud to have such an ambitious wife. Should be, but I knew he wasn't. He'd probably sulk for days about this, making me feel guilty for succeeding, for being celebrated, for being seen as valuable by important people. Later that night, I posted the video someone had captured of Damian's speech and kiss on my Instagram with the caption, "When your hard work gets the recognition it deserves." So grateful for leadership that sees and celebrates talent. Just a start-up life. Just a recognition for a start worth it. The likes and comments poured in immediately. You go, girl. Power couple vibes. Living your best life. Success looks good on you. This was what validation felt like. This was what I'd been missing. When I got home around midnight, the apartment was dark. Owen had gone to bed without waiting up, without asking how the rest of the party went, without showing any interest in what should have been one of the biggest nights of my career. I slipped into bed beside him, but he didn't stir. His breathing was too controlled, too deliberate. He was awake, pretending to sleep. "Owen?" I whispered. Nothing. "Owen, are you really going to give me the silent treatment over a professional gesture of appreciation?" Still nothing. Fine. If he wanted to be childish about my success, that was his problem. I wasn't going to apologize for being valued, for being celebrated, for being seen as someone worth recognizing. But as I lay there in the darkness, I couldn't shake the image of his face when Damian kissed my neck. Not angry, not jealous, just distant, like he was already somewhere else entirely. What exactly was he planning in that silence? The next morning, I woke to the sound of Owen moving around the kitchen with unusual precision. Not his typical Saturday morning shuffle, but deliberate, methodical movements. I checked my phone. 47 new Instagram notifications, 12 LinkedIn comments, and 3 missed calls from my Aunt Yelena. "Morning," I said, padding into the kitchen in my robe. Owen was at the counter, organizing papers into neat stacks, a cup of coffee growing cold beside him. "Morning." He didn't look up. "The party was amazing last night. I'm sorry you left early. You missed some really great conversations with the investors." "I'm sure I did." He picked up a bank statement, studied it, then placed it in a manila folder, labeled with yesterday's date. "Owen, are we really going to do this? The silent treatment because my boss appreciated my work?" Finally, he looked at me. His eyes were clear, focused, but somehow unfamiliar. "I'm not giving you the silent treatment, Seraphine. I'm just organizing some things." "Organizing what things?" I moved closer, trying to see what he was sorting. Financial documents, insurance papers, what looked like printouts of emails. Just household stuff, making sure everything's in order. He closed the folder before I could read more. "I'm going to run some errands today, downtown." "Downtown? On a Saturday? What errands?" "Just some things I need to take care of." He stood, gathering his papers. "Eva's still sleeping. I'll be back this afternoon." This wasn't like Owen at all. He was a creature of habit. Saturday mornings meant pancakes with Eva, grading papers, maybe a trip to Home Depot, not mysterious downtown errands with cryptic paperwork. "Owen, if you're upset about last night, we should talk about it. Don't just shut me out." He paused at the kitchen doorway. "I'm not shutting you out, Seraphine. I'm just handling some things that need to be handled." After he left, I tried to shake off the weird feeling in my stomach. Owen was probably just being dramatic, trying to make me feel guilty for having a successful career moment. He'd always been threatened by my ambition. My phone buzzed with a text from Damian. "Hope you enjoyed last night as much as I did. You were absolutely radiant. Coffee Monday to discuss your next project." I felt that familiar flutter of excitement. This was what I should be focusing on. My career, my future, my potential, not Owen's insecurity. I texted back, "Absolutely, looking forward to it." Eva wandered into the kitchen around 10, her dark hair sticking up in all directions. "Where's Daddy?" "He had some errands to run. Want to make pancakes?" "Daddy makes better pancakes." She climbed onto the couch and started drawing in her coloring book. "Why was Daddy sad last night?" "Daddy wasn't sad, sweetheart. He was just tired." But when I looked at Eva's drawing later, my heart sank. She'd drawn our family, me in a black dress with a big smile, herself in the middle, and Owen off to the side, colored entirely in grey crayon, much smaller than the rest of us. "Eva, why did you make Daddy grey?" "Because that's how he looks now, all grey and quiet." My phone rang. Aunt Yolena. I'd been avoiding her calls, but she was persistent. "Seraphine, what in God's name was that video I saw on Facebook?" "Hello to you too, Aunt Yolena." "Don't get smart with me. Marina shared that video of you letting some man kiss your neck at a party, with your husband standing right there." "It wasn't some man, it was my boss, and it was a professional gesture of appreciation for my hard work." "Professional?" Her voice rose an octave. "Since when is kissing someone's neck professional, and posting it online for the world to see?" "You wouldn't understand. You've never worked in a competitive corporate environment." "I understand plenty. I understand that you just humiliated your husband in front of his face and then bragged about it on the internet." "I didn't humiliate anyone. Owen is just being oversensitive." "Oversensitive? Seraphine, how would you feel if Owen let some woman kiss his neck at a party and then posted it online, talking about how much he deserved it?" I felt a flash of anger at the comparison. "That's completely different. Owen doesn't have the kind of career where recognition matters. He's a high school teacher." The silence on the other end was deafening. "Listen to yourself," Yolena finally said. "You think your husband's work doesn't matter because he teaches children instead of chasing money. You think that gives you the right to disrespect him publicly." "I'm not disrespecting anyone. I'm just not going to apologize for being successful." "There's a difference between being successful and being selfish, Seraphine. Don't confuse applause for love." She hung up before I could respond. The rest of the day dragged. Owen came home around 4, carrying a briefcase I'd never seen before. He went straight to his home office and closed the door. When I tried the handle later, it was locked. At dinner, Eva tried to fill the silence with chatter about her friend's birthday party next week, but the tension was thick enough to cut. Owen answered her questions and helped her with her food, but he barely looked at me. "I have some work to catch up on tonight," he said after we'd cleaned up. "I'll be in the office." "On a Saturday night?" "Some things can't wait until Monday." I spent the evening scrolling through the comments on my Instagram post, basking in the support from friends and colleagues. "You're glowing. Success looks so good on you. Your confidence is inspiring." This was what mattered. This was real validation from people who understood ambition and drive. Around 11, I knocked on Owen's office door. "Are you coming to bed?" "In a while." I could hear him typing, occasionally opening and closing filing cabinet drawers. What could he possibly be working on that required so much organization? I tried the handle again, still locked. "Owen, why is the door locked?" "Just trying to focus." "Focus on what?" A long pause. "Making sure I handle things the right way." That night, I lay in bed alone again, staring at the ceiling. Owen finally came to bed around 2 in the morning, moving quietly in the dark, but I could feel the distance between us like a physical wall. In the morning, I found a new calendar entry in Owen's handwriting on the kitchen calendar, downtown 9:25 for Tuesday. No other details. When I asked him about it at breakfast, he just said, "An appointment." "What kind of appointment?" "The kind that needs to be kept." Eva looked back and forth between us, her cereal growing soggy. "Are you and Daddy fighting?" "No, sweetheart," I said quickly. "Daddy's just busy with work stuff." But Eva's latest drawing, left on the coffee table, showed our house with a big crack down the middle. Owen was probably just trying to scare me, to make me think he was planning something dramatic. But what could he really do? He was a high school teacher who spent his free time grading papers and coaching debate club. This was just his way of sulking. Still, as I watched him carefully label another folder and add it to his growing collection, I couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental had shifted. The methodical way he moved, the deliberate organization, the mysterious appointments, this wasn't the Owen I knew. What exactly was he preparing for? 2 weeks later, Damian announced another company celebration, this time for securing our Series A funding. The same rooftop venue, the same crowd of investors and tech journalists, the same intoxicating atmosphere of success and possibility. "You have to come," I told Owen over breakfast. "This is huge for my career, for our future." He looked up from the financial documents he'd been reviewing, a new morning ritual that was starting to annoy me. "I'll try to make it." "You'll try?" "Owen, this is important." I said I'll try. Eva was drawing again, this time a picture of what looked like a courthouse with stick figures standing outside. When I asked her about it, she said she'd seen it on TV and thought the building looked important and scary. That evening, I spent extra time getting ready. A new red dress, professional but striking, with heels that made me feel powerful. I deserved to look the part of a successful marketing executive. The party was even better than the launch event. More investors, more press, more validation. I worked the room like I was born for it, discussing market strategies and growth projections with people who actually understood the value of ambition. "Seraphine," Damian appeared at my side as I was talking to a journalist from TechCrunch. "You look absolutely stunning tonight. Red is definitely your color." "Thank you. I was just telling Jennifer about our user acquisition strategy." "Brilliant as always." His hand found its familiar place on my lower back. "Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention." The crowd turned toward us, and I felt that familiar rush of anticipation. This was my moment again. 2 weeks ago, I told you about the incredible woman who made our launch possible, Damian said into the microphone. Tonight, I want to celebrate her again, because Seraphine Doral has just secured us the funding that will take this company to the next level. The applause was thunderous. I spotted Owen near the back of the crowd, watching with that same unreadable expression. "Seraphine, you are absolutely unstoppable," Damian continued, turning to face me. "And I think everyone here agrees that success this impressive deserves recognition." Before I could react, someone in the crowd shouted, "Give her another kiss, Damian." The crowd laughed and cheered, and suddenly everyone was chanting, "Kiss, kiss, kiss." I felt my cheeks flush, but not with embarrassment, with excitement. This was what power felt like. This was what it meant to be celebrated, to be seen as someone worth celebrating. Damian grinned and shrugged. "Well, if you insist." This time, when his lips found my neck, I didn't freeze. I leaned into it, closing my eyes and smiling as the crowd erupted in cheers. Someone was recording again, and I knew this moment would be all over social media within the hour. When I opened my eyes, Owen was gone. "Speech, speech," the crowd demanded. I took the microphone, my confidence soaring. "You know what? I'm not going to apologize for being ambitious. I'm not going to apologize for working harder than everyone else, for wanting more, for refusing to settle for mediocrity." More cheers. Some people are content with small lives, with small dreams, with small achievements. But restraint doesn't build empires. Caution doesn't change the world. Sometimes you have to be willing to be misunderstood by people who don't share your vision. The applause was deafening. I felt invincible. Later, I posted the video with the caption, "When you refuse to dim your light for anyone, growth requires courage, and courage requires leaving some people behind." No apologies. Building empires. Unstoppable energy. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Hundreds of likes, dozens of supportive comments, shares from colleagues and friends. This was validation on a scale I'd never experienced. But when I got home, the apartment felt different, colder somehow. Owen was in the kitchen, but not organizing papers this time. He was just sitting at the table, staring at his laptop screen. "You left early again," I said. "Did I?" "Owen, what's your problem? This was supposed to be a celebration. These are career-defining moments for me." He closed the laptop and looked at me for the first time in weeks. Really looked at me. "Career-defining, is that what you're calling it?" "What else would I call it? I'm building something here. I'm making a name for myself in this industry." "You're certainly making a name for yourself." Something in his tone made me defensive. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I've spent the last 3 weeks watching my wife publicly humiliate me and then post it online for the world to see." "Humiliate you? Owen, this has nothing to do with you. This is about my career, my achievements, your affair." The word hung in the air between us like a bomb. "Affair? Are you insane? Damian is my boss. These are professional interactions." "Professional?" He opened his laptop again, turned it toward me. On the screen was a compilation of photos and videos. The neck kisses, my speeches, the comments from colleagues and friends, all arranged in chronological order. "Professional interactions don't usually involve this much physical contact, Seraphine. You're being paranoid and controlling. This is exactly why I can't talk to you about work. You don't understand the culture, you don't understand the industry, you don't understand what it takes to succeed at this level." "I understand enough." He closed the laptop again. "I understand that my wife cares more about the approval of strangers on the internet than she does about her family." "That's not fair." "Fair?" For the first time, his voice rose slightly. "You want to talk about fair? Is it fair that I have to find out about my wife's public displays of affection from my mother, who saw the videos on Facebook? Is it fair that my colleagues are asking me if I'm okay because they've seen you on social media? Is it fair that our 6-year-old daughter is drawing pictures of our family falling apart?" I felt a stab of guilt about Eva, but I pushed it down. "You're making this into something it's not. You're letting your insecurity turn professional appreciation into some kind of scandal." "Professional appreciation." He stood up, gathering his laptop and papers. "Right. Well, I'm going to handle this professionally too." "What does that mean?" "It means I'm going to make sure everything is documented properly. It means I'm going to follow the correct procedures. It means I'm going to do everything by the book." "Owen, you're scaring me. What procedures? What book?" But he was already walking away, heading back to his locked office with his mysterious appointments and careful documentation. The next day was Sunday, and we had plans to have lunch with Owen's family at their favorite restaurant downtown. I hoped getting out of the apartment might help break the tension. I was wrong. Owen's mother, Helena, greeted me with a stiff hug and a forced smile. His sister Sarah barely made eye contact. Even his usually jovial father seemed subdued. "So, Seraphine," Helena said once we'd ordered, "how's work going?" The question felt loaded, but I decided to take it at face value. "Really well, actually. We just secured Series A funding, and I've been getting a lot of recognition for my contributions." "Yes, we saw some of that recognition on Facebook," Sarah said dryly. "Sarah," Owen warned quietly. "What? I'm just saying we saw the videos. Very public." I felt my cheeks burn. Those were company celebrations, professional events. "Of course they were," Helena said, but her tone suggested otherwise. "It's just, well, in my day, we kept our professional relationships a bit more professional." "Times have changed," I said, trying to keep my voice level. "The startup world is very collaborative, very expressive. People who don't understand the culture might misinterpret normal interactions." "Normal interactions," Sarah repeated. "Is that what we're calling it?" "Sarah, please," Owen's father interjected. But Sarah was on a roll. "Owen, how do you feel about these normal interactions? You seem pretty quiet about the whole thing." Owen looked at me across the table, and for a moment, I thought he might defend me. Instead, he said, "I'm handling it." "Handling it how?" Helena asked. "Properly." The rest of lunch was painfully awkward. Eva chatted about school and her friends, oblivious to the tension, but the adults barely spoke. When we finally left, I felt like I'd been through an interrogation. "Your family was incredibly rude to me," I said in the car. "Were they?" "You know they were. They basically accused me of having an affair in front of Eva. Eva was coloring. She wasn't listening. That's not the point. The point is that your family is taking your side without even trying to understand what's really happening." "What's really happening, Seraphine?" The question caught me off guard. "What do you mean?" "I mean, what's really happening between you and Damian? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like my wife is having an emotional affair with her boss and broadcasting it on social media." "That's ridiculous." "Is it? When was the last time you talked about anything other than work? When was the last time you asked about my day, or Eva's day, or showed any interest in our lives that didn't involve your career?" I opened my mouth to argue, then closed it. I couldn't remember. "When was the last time you came to bed at the same time as me instead of staying up late texting Damian about work projects?" "Those are legitimate work conversations." "At 11 o'clock at night, on weekends." "Sometimes business doesn't follow a 9 to 5 schedule." "And when was the last time you touched me the way you let Damian touch you in public?" That stopped me cold, because the truth was, I couldn't remember the last time Owen and I had been truly intimate, not just physically, but emotionally. When had we stopped connecting? When had I stopped seeing him as anything other than an obstacle to my ambitions? "I'm building something important," I said quietly. "I know you are. The question is, what are you tearing down to build it?" That night, Eva came to me with another drawing. This one showed our family again, but this time Owen was completely outside the house, standing next to what looked like a briefcase. "Eva, why is Daddy outside the house?" "Because he's going away." "Who told you Daddy was going away?" "Nobody, I just know. He's getting ready to go somewhere important." I found Owen in his office again, typing and organizing with that same methodical precision. The locked door, the mysterious appointments, the careful documentation. Suddenly it all felt much more ominous. "Owen, we need to talk." "Not now, Seraphine, I'm busy." "Busy with what? What are you working on in there?" "Making sure everything is handled correctly." "What does that mean?" Through the door, I heard him opening and closing file drawers, the sound of papers being shuffled and organized. "It means I'm making sure all the documentation is in order. It means I'm following the proper procedures. It means when the time comes, everything will be ready." "Ready for what?" But the typing had resumed, and I knew the conversation was over. As I lay in bed alone again that night, I tried to convince myself that Owen was just being dramatic, trying to scare me into feeling guilty about my success, but Eva's words kept echoing in my head. "He's getting ready to go somewhere important." What if this wasn't just sulking? What if Owen was actually planning something? And if he was, what exactly did he have planned? Monday morning brought a text from Damian that made my stomach flutter. "Coffee in 10 minutes? I have some exciting news to share." I found him at our usual corner table in the company cafe, looking particularly pleased with himself. "Seraphine, I've been thinking about your career trajectory, and I have a proposition for you." "I'm listening." "The board was incredibly impressed with your presentation last week. So impressed, in fact, that they're considering creating a new position, VP of Strategic Marketing, and I can't think of anyone better suited for the role." My heart raced. This was everything I'd been working toward. "Damian, that's incredible. I don't know what to say." "Say yes. Say you're ready to take your career to the next level. Say you're ready to work closely with me to build something extraordinary." The way he said "work closely" sent a shiver down my spine. his hand covered mine on the table, his thumb tracing small circles on my wrist. There would be some travel involved, he continued. Conferences, client meetings, strategy sessions, sometimes overnight trips. I hope that wouldn't be a problem. I thought about Owen's accusations, his documentation, his mysterious appointments. Then I thought about the opportunity in front of me, the recognition, the salary increase, the chance to prove myself at the highest level. No problem at all, I heard myself say. Excellent, we should celebrate. There's a client dinner this Friday at the Fairmont. Very exclusive, very important people. It would be the perfect opportunity to announce your new role. When I got home that evening, I was practically floating. This was vindication. This was proof that I'd been right to prioritize my career, right to push boundaries, right to refuse to dim my light for anyone. Owen was in the kitchen with Eva, helping her with homework. The domestic scene felt suddenly small and suffocating compared to the excitement of my day. Guess what? I announced. I'm being promoted to VP of Strategic Marketing. Eva looked up from her math worksheet. What's that mean? It means Mommy's going to have an even more important job. Will you be home more or less? Eva asked. The question caught me off guard. Well, there might be some travel involved, but less, Owen said quietly, not looking up from Eva's homework. It's not about less or more, I said defensively. It's about building a career, about providing opportunities for our family's future. Right, our family's future. That evening, I got a call from Priya, our HR manager. Seraphine, do you have a few minutes to chat? There's something I need to discuss with you. We met in her office first thing Tuesday morning. Priya looked uncomfortable, fidgeting with her pen and avoiding eye contact. This is a bit awkward, she began, but I've had some concerns raised about workplace boundaries and professional conduct. Concerns? From who? I can't get into specifics, but there have been some observations about your interactions with Damian. The physical contact, the public displays of affection, the social media posts, it's creating some optics issues. I felt a flash of anger. Optics issues? Priya, we work in a startup environment. We're collaborative, we're expressive, we celebrate each other's successes. If people are misinterpreting professional appreciation, Seraphine, I've seen the videos. That level of physical intimacy between a boss and subordinate creates liability issues for the company. It opens us up to harassment claims, creates a hostile work environment for other employees, and frankly, it's not appropriate regardless of the industry culture. Are you seriously suggesting that I'm being harassed? Because I can assure you, I'm not suggesting anything. I'm telling you that these interactions need to stop. No more physical contact, no more public displays, no more social media posts that could be misinterpreted. This is for your protection as much as the company's. I left Priya's office furious. How dare they try to police my relationships, my success, my recognition? This was exactly the kind of small-minded thinking that held ambitious women back. I texted Damian immediately. HR meeting was ridiculous. They're trying to make our professional relationship into something inappropriate. His response came quickly. Don't let them dim your light. Some people can't handle powerful women. We'll discuss at dinner Friday. That afternoon, I came home to find Owen in his office again, but this time the door was slightly ajar. I could see him on the phone, speaking in low, professional tones. Yes, I understand the timeline. No, I want everything documented properly. Friday would work. Yes, I'll bring all the evidence. Evidence? I pressed closer to the door, trying to hear more. I appreciate your thoroughness. Yes, my wife will be at a company event, the Fairmont, I believe. That should give us the privacy we need to handle this properly. My blood ran cold. Owen knew about Friday's dinner, and he was planning something for that exact time. When he hung up, I quickly moved away from the door. A few minutes later, he emerged carrying a thick manila envelope. Going out again? I asked, trying to sound casual. Just some errands. More downtown appointments? Something like that. After he left, I tried to get into his office, but the door was locked again. However, I noticed he'd left his briefcase in the bedroom. Inside, I found folders labeled with dates, printed emails, bank statements, and what looked like legal documents. One folder was labeled Evidence, in Owen's careful handwriting. At the bottom of the briefcase was a business card, Peterson and Associates, Family Law. Family Law, divorce attorneys. My hands shook as I put everything back exactly as I'd found it. Owen wasn't just sulking or trying to scare me. He was building a case. All those mysterious appointments, all that careful documentation. He was preparing to divorce me. But I still had time. The VP position would change everything. Once I had that title, that salary, that level of success, Owen would see that I'd been right all along. He'd see that my ambitions were worth the temporary strain on our relationship. I just had to make it to Friday. That night, Eva climbed into bed with me around midnight. "Mummy, I had a bad dream." "What about, sweetheart?" "Our house was empty. All the furniture was gone, and you and Daddy were standing in different rooms, and I couldn't find my toys anywhere." I held her close, breathing in the scent of her strawberry shampoo. "It was just a dream, Eva. Everything's going to be fine." But as I said the words, I wasn't sure I believed them myself. Wednesday brought another text from Damian. "Can't wait for Friday. I have some special plans for celebrating your promotion. Wear something that makes you feel as powerful as you are." Thursday, Owen was gone most of the day on another mysterious errand. When he came back, he seemed calmer somehow, more resolved. "How was your day?" I asked over dinner. "Productive. I got everything handled that needed to be handled." "What kind of things?" "Just making sure all the paperwork is in order. Making sure everyone knows what to expect." "Expect from what?" He looked at me across the table, and for a moment his expression softened. "Seraphine, do you remember when we first met? You were so passionate about everything, your art, your dreams, your plans for the future. But you were also kind. You cared about people. You cared about me. I still care about you. Do you? When was the last time you asked about my students? When was the last time you remembered that I had a faculty meeting or a parent conference? When was the last time you showed any interest in my life that didn't involve how it affected your career?" I opened my mouth to argue, but the words wouldn't come. Because he was right. Somewhere along the way, Owen had become background noise in my life, a supporting character in my success story. "I've been building something important," I said weakly. "I know. And I've been trying to figure out if there's still room in what you're building for the people who love you." "Of course there is." "Is there? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've already made your choice." That night, I found Eva in her room, packing her favorite stuffed animals into a small suitcase. "Eva, what are you doing?" "Getting ready." "Ready for what?" "Daddy said we might need to go stay at Grandma's house for a while. He said I should pack my most important things." My heart stopped. "When did Daddy say that?" "Today. He said sometimes grown-ups have to make big changes, and kids need to be ready to be brave." I tucked Eva back into bed and went looking for Owen, but his office door was locked again, and I could hear him on another phone call. "Yes, everything's confirmed for tomorrow evening. She'll be at the company dinner until at least 10. Yes, I have all the documentation ready. No, I want to do this right. She deserves to know everything at once, in the proper way." Friday morning, Owen made Eva pancakes and helped her pack an overnight bag. "Where's Eva going?" I asked. "To my mother's. She's having a sleepover with her cousins." "On a school night?" "It's important that she not be here tonight." The way he said it made my skin crawl. Whatever Owen had planned, he didn't want Eva to witness it. As I got ready for the dinner, I tried to push down the growing sense of dread. This was supposed to be my night, my triumph, my vindication. I chose a black cocktail dress, elegant but striking, and spent extra time on my hair and makeup. If Owen wanted to play games, fine, but I wasn't going to let his dramatics ruin the biggest night of my career. The dinner was everything I'd hoped for. Important clients, influential investors, media attention. Damian introduced me as the newest VP, and the response was overwhelmingly positive. To Seraphine, he said, raising his champagne glass, a woman who refuses to be limited by other people's expectations. As the evening progressed, Damian's attention became more focused, more intimate. His hand lingered on my back, his compliments became more personal, his suggestions about future collaborations more explicit. You know, he said as dessert was being served, there's something I've been wanting to discuss with you privately, about your new role, about the opportunities ahead of us. Before I could respond, a hotel employee approached our table. Excuse me, are you Seraphine Doral? Yes? I have a delivery for you. He handed me a thick manila envelope with my name written in Owen's careful handwriting. Through the restaurant's floor-to-ceiling windows, I could see a familiar figure standing on the sidewalk outside. Owen, watching, waiting. My hands trembled as I opened the envelope. Inside were legal documents, meticulously organized and labeled. Petition for dissolution of marriage, custody arrangements, financial disclosures, asset division, and underneath it all, a note in Owen's handwriting. I cared enough to end this right. The restaurant suddenly felt too bright, too loud, too public. Every eye at the table was on me, watching my face as I processed what I was holding. Damian leaned over, trying to see the documents. Seraphine, what is it? I looked up at him, this man who had been the center of my ambitions, my validation, my sense of worth, and suddenly saw him clearly. Not as a mentor or a champion of my success, but as someone who had encouraged me to destroy my marriage for his own entertainment. It's the end, I said quietly. Through the window, Owen was walking away, his shoulders straight, his step purposeful. He'd done exactly what he'd promised, handled everything properly, documented everything correctly, followed all the right procedures. And now, everyone in this restaurant, everyone who had celebrated my ambition and my refusal to be limited by other people's expectations, was witnessing the moment my husband legally and publicly ended our marriage. The irony was devastating. I'd spent months craving public recognition, public validation, public celebration of my worth, and now I was getting the most public moment of all, the moment when the most important person in my life decided I wasn't worth fighting for anymore. The legal documents felt like they weighed 1,000 pounds in my hands. Around the table, conversation had stopped completely. Damian, the clients, the investors, everyone was staring at me with expressions ranging from confusion to pity to barely concealed fascination. Seraphine, Damian said carefully, perhaps we should discuss this privately. But there was nowhere private to go. The restaurant was full of tech industry people, many of whom I recognized from conferences and networking events. By tomorrow, this story would be all over Silicon Valley. I started, then stopped. What did I need to do? Chase after Owen? Pretend nothing had happened? Make excuses to a table full of people who had just witnessed my marriage implode in real time? My phone buzzed with a text from Owen. Eva is safe with my mother. Your belongings will be packed and ready for pickup tomorrow. The apartment lease is in my name. Please respect the legal process. Even in this moment, he was being methodical, considerate, proper. He'd made sure our daughter was protected, ensured I had somewhere to go, followed every legal protocol exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, I heard myself say, standing up from the table, I apologize, but I need to handle a family emergency. Damian stood too, his hand reaching for my arm. Seraphine, don't let this derail everything we've built. Your career, your future, none of that has to change. I looked at him, this man who had kissed my neck in public while my husband watched, who had encouraged me, to see Owen's discomfort as weakness, who had helped me rationalize the destruction of my marriage as professional ambition. "Everything has already changed," I said. I walked out of the restaurant on unsteady legs, the legal documents clutched against my chest. Outside, the Seattle evening was crisp and clear, but I felt like I was moving through fog. My phone was already buzzing with notifications. Someone had recorded the moment I received the papers, and it was already making its way through social media. The same platforms that had celebrated my empowerment and ambition were now documenting my public humiliation. I drove to Owen's mother's house, desperate to see Eva, to explain somehow, to try to salvage something from the wreckage of the evening. Helena answered the door with the expression of profound sadness. "Seraphine, I need to see Eva. I need to explain." Sabine found me at the kitchen table, divorce papers spread out like a grim prophecy. "Oh, honey," she said, sliding into Elliot's empty chair. "I'm so sorry." "Are you?" My voice cracked. "You're the one who sent him those texts. You showed him how unhappy I was." "I was worried about both of you," she said gently. "I thought if he knew you could work it out. Instead, you gave him ammunition." "I gave him the truth you should have told him instead of complaining to everyone else." I wanted to rage, but she was right. Everyone was right except me. "What am I going to do?" I whispered. "Sign the papers," she said. "Let him go. Focus on being the best mother to Sophie." "What if I'm not cut out for this?" "Then you figure it out. That's what adults do." That night, I called my mother. As expected, she exploded. "Don't sign. We'll fight this. Get the best lawyer." "Mom, stop. It wasn't one mistake. I've been a terrible wife for years. Elliot deserves better." "What about what you deserve? Your happiness? What about Sophie's happiness? What about doing the right thing for once?" Silence. "This doesn't sound like you. Maybe that's the problem." I hung up, sat at Sabine's table, and signed every line. The divorce finalized 6 months later. I had my own apartment, therapy, and the slow work of becoming someone Sophie could rely on. She adjusted, though she still asked when Mommy and Daddy would live together again. Elliot stayed polite but distant. We co-parented efficiently. School events, doctor visits, but nothing personal. A year later, at Sophie's school play, we shared a row. "You look good," he said. "Thanks. You too." We watched our daughter shine, proud parents united by love for her, if not each other. After, Sophie asked for ice cream, like we used to. We went, the three of us in a booth, her chattering happily. For an hour, it almost felt like family. When we parted, Elliot said quietly, "Thank you for signing without a fight. Thank you for protecting her when I couldn't." 2 years on, I married David in a small ceremony. Sophie was my maid of honor. Elliot walked her down the aisle, placed her hand in mine and whispered, "Be happy. You too." He was with someone new. Sophie adored her. I felt no jealousy, only gratitude for the lessons learned through loss. I'd destroyed my first marriage chasing validation. But in the ashes, I'd found honesty, accountability, and the truth that real happiness comes from within. As David and I danced, Sophie watching with shining eyes, I finally felt complete. Not because someone completed me, but because I'd learned to complete myself. And that was enough.